Are you ready to make explosion boxes with me and this little one right here? Let's do it. Okay, so these are a couple of explosion boxes that I've done. I'm just showing the outside. So you just pull the top off and they pop out. And these are very simple versions of explosion boxes. So this is the outside. And of course the inside here. And I've just done different little collage techniques like layering. And I have a little sunflower in the middle, a little opening here. And you can personalize these if you want to give them to someone and put little things on each square. And so I have 2 pieces of cardstock paper. They're both 12 by 12, but I'm only going to need a small size for the lid and then for the actual box. And so I'm going to start by measuring the actual box part. And so you want 9 squares that are 4 inches each on each side. So I'm just taking my ruler and I'm finding the 4-inch marks. I accidentally did 3 there. You can see the little mistake I made, but so I'm doing 4 inches across. And then here I'm just lining those little spots up. And then I'm doing the same thing on the other side. So again, you want 9 boxes. Each box is 4 by 4 inches. And then I'm going to draw the lines down here as well. And I don't know why, but I often have a hard time drawing straight lines even when I have a ruler. Okay, so I have the 9 boxes here, and I like to number them just, well, first of all, to show how I do this, but also it makes it a little easier. So when I teach workshops, I number them. So I've numbered them 1 through 9, and I'm crossing out 1, 3, 7, and 9 because we're going to cut those squares off completely. So again, you're going to number each square 1 through 9, and then cross out 1, 3, 7, and 9, and then you're just going to cut those squares off. So then I'm left with 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8. And then I'm just going to start folding to make the actual box. So I'm just going to each square and folding them down. And I'm also looking and making sure that the top of the box is even. Sometimes for some reason it can become slightly uneven, and then all you would do in that case is kind of eyeball it and just trim down whatever sides seem to be sticking out more, because you want that lid to fit on pretty easily and not be lopsided. Okay, so I've got the box, and now I'm doing the lid. And so the lid is going to be 6 1/4 inches on each side. And so if you don't want to like waste paper, you can actually do this more easily on like an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock paper. But I just happen to have a lot of 12 by 12. So I'm doing the same thing here, only I'm just using a smaller part of the paper. So again, I just want 6 1/4 inches by 6 1/4 inches for the lid, and then I'm just going to cut that out. And then what I'm going to do is measure 1 inch around on the inside, or what will be the inside of the lid. And then I'm going to fold down 1 inch on each side. I just want to mention that you might hear birds. I'm up really early and I don't have my actual recording set up because I've been painting, so I'm doing this straight from my iPad. But anyways, so now I'm folding down an inch, or it could be just slightly under an inch, around each side. And then this part is kind of tricky, but I make markings just to help me out. So I'm making distinct corners. And then what I do is I cut the left side of each corner, but I'm going to cut it and then flip or rotate the lid so that I'm cutting the left side of each corner after rotating. And then what you're going to do is you have a little tab there. So you're going to put a little bit of glue and then you're going to place the tab on the inside of the little fold that's right next to it. And then you're just going to hold it down. It shouldn't take too long depending on the glue that you're using. Here I'm using tacky glue. I would not use a glue stick for this part. So I'm just holding it down. And just going around, and you want to make sure that the little tab is glued onto the inside of the fold on each side. Okay, and so once you've done that, if you have any ideas of what to put on your lid, you can start laying things out. And so I'm starting with the lid here, and you'll see that I have the inside of a box already done. So when I made this video, when I started recording it, I realized that I had done the inside before the outside, but it should have been opposite. And I wanted to make that distinction because it's harder to do the box on the outside after you've done the inside. So that's why that box is there on the left side. But I am just adding an A with like little circles, just since that's the first letter of my first name. And I like the different colors of blue and white, the different hues of blue. Okay, and so now I'm going to show how to do the outside of the box. So here you can see that I painted the bottom, but that's not necessary because you're probably not going to like be looking at the bottom. And so I'm from New Mexico, so I've got the hot air balloon, the New Mexico symbol, and a little butterfly that I cut out. And one mistake I made here, this is the first box I did, was I put the stuff on the outside too high so that when the lid is on, it's hard to see it. So just keep that in mind. And so I'm just gonna start here, just cutting things up. I'm gonna do another hot air balloon. And again, right now I'm doing the outside of the box. And so something to consider that I thought about after I started cutting this is that you want to think about how the box is going to look when it's closed. So I had to change where I was putting things because again, this is the outside. And I just want to make sure that I am placing things where they need to be for when I put the box together when it's upright. And I'm just doing some simple things here. You can be as elaborate as you want. You can add as much as you want. And so here I'm still putting the heart, like I forgot again. I'm just kind of like laying things out, but I forgot again that I'm gonna have to put it a different way because of how the box is gonna sit up. And for a lot of the things that you're gonna put on the outside and inside of the box, I would use a glue stick, because using too much tacky glue can weigh the box down on one side and kind of distort it. Glue sticks work really well, especially Elmer's. Like, I love all Elmer's glue. Even their tacky glue is really good. But for the really heavy stuff, I'm going to use the tacky glue, and then for just the mostly paper things, I'm going to use a glue stick. And so right here, I'm going to do the technique where I just layer random things. So I'm just cutting down things and thinking about like color. And I'm big on book pages, so I'm layering a little piece of a book page on top of that. And with collage, some people like to lay things out first and then start gluing things, but sometimes I'll just start gluing, like kind of intuitively, just putting stuff down. Either way works. So now I'm just looking at the outside, how it looks when it's upright. And so right here, I'm folding the flaps back because that actually helps when you open the box for it to pop out better, in a sense. So if you ever like open or pull the lid off and it doesn't kind of pop out as much as you'd like, you can just fold the flaps back and then close the box, and then it should work. So here I'm working on the inside of the box, and I'm just picking out different materials to put on the inside. And you don't have to like actually number the way that I did, but the reason I don't have a problem actually writing the numbers on the squares before I cut the corners off is because I know that I'm going to cover the numbers. So it's up to you if you want to actually write it down. But I think it's helpful. And so here I'm just cutting stuff, thinking about where I want to put it. And so what I'm doing here is I'm cutting pieces of paper to make like a few little pages. So I'm just cutting some of the papers down. It'll almost look like a small like book. And this is a fun thing to do if you're gonna give this box to someone, and you can write down like little things, like messages to them. So I'm starting with the bigger or the longer piece of paper. I'm just gluing down that one side, and then I'm gonna make a little fold as I like turn this little page, and then I'm gonna start layering and doing the same thing here. And so I'm just folding them all back, making sure they're not stuck together. And then next I'm gonna do a corner pocket. So I'm just gonna cut this paper down, and I'm just gonna turn it over and put the glue where obviously I don't want an opening. I'm just gonna place that down and press down really hard. And then I always like to put something in the pocket to make sure it doesn't like stick down where it's not supposed to, just until it dries. And then here, I'm going to do the little technique where I have like a little thing that you have to untie and open to reveal something else. And this is a fun way to have a little message as well, if you want to give this to someone. So I'm just trying to figure out which paper is going to be the inside and which one's going to be like the little opening that reveals the inside page. And so I'm going to use the purple or the paper that has purple on it, and I just folded it in half and then I tore it. And then now I'm gluing down the inside page first. And then now I'm deciding where to put the little outside parts. And I'm cutting string. I'm cutting enough string to cover, of course, the whole part of the outside, but I'm also cutting it in half because I'm going to put it on each side. And so I put a little dot on the outside pages. I'm going to add more glue, but that's just to get the thread down first. And you can use like thread or yarn or twine for this part. And so now I'm adding a little more glue, just like a line of glue. Very little glue here, don't need a whole lot. So while those are drying, I'm going to actually start on the next square. And I just happen to have all these little circles from doing hole punches on other paper. And so I'm just going to make a big circle using all these little circles and layering them. Okay, and then here I literally just like improvised. I was trying to do like a sculptural little thing in the middle. So I wanted to have something like standing, and so I just was folding paper and trying to figure out how to get it to stay upward in the middle. So I'm just doing some folding and gluing down. Again, this is like totally random and I have no idea what I'm doing here, but it was fun to try. And so now I'm just cutting on the bottom, then I'm going to put some glue, and that's what's going to help it stay down, hopefully. And so what I'm going to do here, since there's an opening, is I'm going to have little strips of, like it could be little quotes or just words of affirmation. And so again, this is a fun idea if you wanted to make something like this for someone. Like if they have funny sayings, or if you want to just uplift them, you can write stuff on strips of paper and then place them inside this little, I don't know, it looks like a building, I guess. Okay, and then so now while those are all drying, I'm going to continue with what I was working on before with the little flap openings. And so I'm gluing down the flaps on the outside of each one. It's just one straight line. And you're going to want to let this dry before you tie together the twine or yarn. And then that's the inside of the box. So I'm going to put the top on and see if it has enough pop. And it does. And then so now that this is dry, I'm going to make a better fold on the little flaps. And I'm just going through making sure everything is dried, or at least drying. And then so there's the inside of the box. At some point I'm going to have to try to work on the outside, or I might just leave the outside, just the black paper. And here's some close-ups. And again, these are very simple versions of the explosion box. If you go online on YouTube or Google explosion boxes, you'll be able to find maybe like blogs or videos that have more extensive boxes. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on my next video.